when I first came in, I was doing on camera for 10 years or so, 8 to 10 years, and then I got into voiceover like 2.5 years ago. I found that it's a very male-dominated industry, and also not very many POC, people of color. And so if you are a female POC, I'm super encouraged to see you coming up and asking this question. I just would say, just keep plugging away at it and don't get discouraged. There is always, a space and a part, and we need more women and we need more people of color in this industry. Or in this particular industry, voiceover. So hang in there and do your best, and I'll see you in the booth.
Yes. Good luck to you.
Yeah.
Could you get a little closer to the mic? Thank you.
I think my question probably seems a little bit bland now, seeing as it's basically already been asked. But if you guys could have any pet in the entire world, anything imaginary, real, anything that would be whatever you want, anything that would do anything you want, what would you have?
Any pet in the world. Imaginary.
Imaginary?
Otherwise.
Okay, well, I bring the dragon up. I love a dragon. I've had an iguana for many years. I love dogs and cats. But you know what would be really fun? It'd be really fun to have a domesticated bobcat, wouldn't it? I don't know, it might be really messy, but I always thought it would be fun.
It's rather large. Litter box.
It would be really,
Litter train them.
Right. Vegetarian shark. I don't know. My shark is vegan.
Okay, so in the movie Spirited Away, there was a little dust bunny things. I want one of those to just hang out on my shoulder. They're so cute.
Man, I don't know. I want all of them.
Yeah.
Anything from Harry Potter. Right? Is it weird that I want a Dementor as a pet? I don't know why, but saying about me personally, I'm no, I'm gonna get Dementor. Merry Christmas, everybody.
You can dress it up.
Dress it up.
Family photo.
Take it to the grooming station.
Just take an owl better.
Yeah.
Take him in for boarding. Could you do his nails while we're gone? Thanks.
Okay, so I have a funny story. Lucio and the voice actors of Lucio and who else was it? I think it was Gaku, who plays Genji, and Mercy, who's played by Lucy Pohl. The three of them went to Kuwait this past year. I don't know if you guys saw that on social media. And apparently all the wealthy people in Kuwait own cheetahs. That's their dog. Yeah, they all have cheetahs. And so Lucy, and they're very accommodating in the Middle East. They're very kind and open and generous. And so they were asking, is there anything else we could do for you? And Lucy, who's Mercy, said, I want a cheetah. I want to take a cheetah home. And so they obviously couldn't give her a cheetah, but apparently all the kids at the con have cheetahs, which is insane. I know, it's crazy. It's crazy. And so one of the fathers of the kids who had a cheetah came up, and Lucy was like, "Where's my cheetah?" And he was like, "Show her," and and she was like, "Oh my God, there's a cheetah that's about to come in, oh my gosh." But it was just basically a video of the kid playing with his cheetah at home, and it was insane. So maybe one day I'll get to own a cheetah. I don't know.
That's the next big pet here.
Yeah.
Goldfish giraffe is the correct answer.
They were the fastest animals. You'll never catch them. ASPCA will have a whole new division for cheetah catchers. Cheetah division, yeah. Oh my God, cheetah division.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, my name is Ash, and this might be a question that was referred to anybody, but I'm gonna ask it again. But is there any special projects that you guys are working on that might give us a head up for either next year or this year?
We usually can't talk about stuff that we're in the middle of working on because of those NDAs. So
Non-disclosure.
we're working on some pretty awesome stuff, but you'll just have
It's always a bummer, because you can't you get in trouble.
serious trouble.
Anything you can't talk about?
What's that?
Anything you can talk about?
Well,
No.
Okay, what did come out, just I'm very happy about what I have. I'm circumstances I couldn't see it. It was the new Star Wars. I got to see it, but I did some voices from aliens in that. So I'm very excited, but I have to see it to know what made the cut. But yeah. So I'm very excited about that.
Thank you for sharing that.
Ever since I've been a fan of Butler Sebastian, of the main character of you, Jada, you have taught me so much of defending myself and how to fight for myself. Because to be honest, I'm not that strong of defending myself. I've always been kind of a weakling to defend myself because I've always kept things quiet between if I had any problems. But ever since I saw your anime and the movies, you're just like super strong, and you're like the super character that's just like, oh, look at me, I'm super strong. So I really admire that about you, and I've actually been wanting to meet you for a long time.
Well, thank you. That's awesome. I'm very honored. Thank you.
Hope I can see you at the sign-in.
Definitely.
First, Jay, I suffer from a speech impediment, so I'm in the same boat as he had. Here's a question for you all. What is your favorite holiday memory?
Favorite holiday? Ooh, that's a good question. Favorite holiday memory? I have a lot of them, but there's one that I think is really funny. So years ago, when I was a little kid, and I first felt empowered by my voice, I wanted, the one thing I wanted for Christmas more than anything else was a ventriloquist dummy. Like, do you remember like the Charlie McCarthy dolls, right? Had the little top hat, little monocle, and I just thought he looked really cool anyway. And I'm like, I still struggle with the speech impediment, but I thought if I get that, it will incentivize me, keeping with my speech therapy. And so I got it, and it was the coolest present. I woke up and he was waiting for me under the tree, and I was like, he's my best friend! That night after the lights went out, I was terrified of him. And I couldn't look at him again. I was like, no, get him out of here!
Have you ever watched the Terry Fator show? Do you know who he is? He won America's, what is that called? America's Got Talent, and he got like some crazy $100 million deal in Vegas. Wow. Yeah, but then his life fell apart. That's a long story, but he's very talented.
Wait, did the doll have anything to do with it?
Yeah, the doll came after him.
The doll was like, where's my money? That money is suing me now
For good reason.
You're the dummy, not me.
Tommy took off with all my money.
So you can't work. That's why I don't work with dummies. I don't work with dummies.
Holiday memories.
I've got one that ended up good, but at the time it was difficult. So I lived in Japan for a little over a year working as an interpreter and translator.
Where? What part?
Akihabara.
Oh, Akihabara. Oh, that's good. It's very techie there.
Yeah, it was like I would dodge maids as I walked to work in the morning. But I was working at an IT company, and the 4th of July came around, and of course, nothing happens in Japan on the 4th of July because it is a distinctly American holiday. And so I woke up and I was so excited. I was like, oh, 4th of July, fireworks. Wait, no, you live in Japan. Like, it's really like, oh. And I realized in that moment how much I loved like the 4th of July and fireworks and all of that. And it made me, living in Japan for years, made me surprisingly patriotic in a way that wasn't like, America, but just like, oh, I like America. We've got some cool stuff here. I like fireworks, and I like, turkey on Thanksgiving, and now I sound northern, oh dear. But a result of that experience made me very like thankful of just my home. So it was good.
My first visit to Disney World was about 21 years ago, and when I was 2, no, I'm kidding. Nobody got that joke. Okay, 21 years ago, and I had a really horrible experience. There's like lots of it was just some weird things happened and some drama, blah blah blah. And so I actually haven't been back to Orlando in 21 years, and so I purposely, and I wanted to just come back. And kind of redo that memory of being in Orlando and going to Disney World, which I'm going to be going to next week, so I'm very excited. And so I'm hoping that this is going to be my holiday memory, that Disney World and you guys and ending the year holiday Matsuri will be one of my best holiday memories. the best, right? Oh, really? Oh, okay. Oh, go ahead.
I have too many. I have too many holiday memories. I mean, it's all flooding me up with just seeing my family back east, and sometimes we would go to Hawaii, and that was really fun. I remember Macy's Day Parade with my grandfather, and the Snoopy float started to get depressed, or the lost air, and started kind of falling down into the city street, and that was kind of exciting when I was little. It's like Snoopy's going down. It just brings back all the and the fireworks. I love those. I would keep the fireworks though for year round, and I would make the mistake of lighting them in my backyard. Thinking, remember, if you like fireworks, it's illegal, I think, in most places. But that alien invasion and celebration are two different things, though they look alike. Celebration is like nice fountain, and I thought, oh, this will be really fun. And alien invasion are fireballs. And so I remember lighting, thinking it was celebration. And it was alien invasion. And I'm with friends, and I just. I mean, it was just like, it was so frightening. And I know that this is like a very bad thing. And I'm like, okay, I think we're done now. No, we're not. It just kept going. And then I had to finally just go, all right, fellas, let's just leave my house. Let's just leave. Because I knew it was going to be a problem. And sure enough, a friend of mine down the streets was telling me in Venice, he goes, I was going to this place and I saw some idiot let off some fireworks the other day. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. So be careful with the fireworks. But no, just family fun and gosh, this time of year is always tough because I've lost so many family members, and so it's like I just relish the time of going out visiting my mom in New Mexico and all that. So where I got the fireworks.
Thank you for your question. Yes, don't be afraid of the mic. Could you get a little closer to the mic so we could hear you? Don't be afraid. Use your voice. You're wonderful. The microphone. We believe in you.
Have you ever cosplayed as any character? If not, what character would you cosplay as?
I have not. And what would I cosplay? I don't know. I like leaving it up to you guys. So I don't know. I like watching it, but I don't know if I'm brave enough to cosplay myself personally.
I'm too intimidated. You guys look so amazing. I'm like, I can't compete with that. What am I? I'll just do the voice. I'm good with that. Though there's a lot of characters I would love to be able to cosplay that that I'm like, oh yeah, no, I don't. It's ironic that I sound like Sebastian Reich, but I don't look anything like him.
Right.
He's like trim, pretty.
I know, it's so disappointing.
Perfect hair. And I'm like, yeah.
But it's always disappointing when you're like, oh, I can't play that guy.
Play that guy.
I'd like to. I haven't cosplayed any character that I voiced. Do you guys know Devin? He's part of the con.
Yeah.
Runs like how to spin an anime panel. He's part of it at least. So it was really random, but I used to do like body paint modeling, and so I've body painted as like Green Lantern at a con, but that was just once. I'd like to. Oh, and then Devin showed me these like the body suits that you get printed and you can just wear them. That's far easier than body paint.
Were you completely nude?
No. It was I had like black boxer briefs that were part of it because of the like black pants.
Did I sound disappointed? That was kind of weird.
It's very cold there. I will say that. There was like a competition that I did for like North American Body Painting Championships where the competition paint time is 6 hours. So you're standing in this freezing hall with very little clothing, getting painted, and of course it's wet paint that's drying on you, so you're even cold. It's freezing.
Wow.
That's crazy. I don't know. I'd love to try Soldier or Zeratul. I think it would be really fun to play Hulk, just to see if I could get into something, like a big suit or a beast or thing. That what I might be able to get away with. That might be fun.
Can I just say that I love Michael Tatum, and I've been like trying to meet you for like years, and like trying to have my schedule to meet you. I'm such a big fan.
Thank you. No, thank you. You're gonna make me blush. Stop. Thank you, sweetheart. Thank you.
I have a question. What's the funniest thing that's ever happened in the recording booth? Probably.
Funniest thing that's ever happened in the recording booth.
Have you guys ever farted? I haven't. I'm just asking because I always wonder. There's nobody else to
I've
blame it
entered the
on.
booth after someone has farted.
You,
And I didn't want to say anything.
Sorry,
I've entered the booth after someone farted. But I didn't want to say anything.
That's so rude.
Well, they
You're
couldn't
like,
help it.
it's contained in there.
I know.
Yeah.
I don't think you can
I've been
help it.
farting for the past 15 minutes.
Is that you?
Yeah,
Is that you?
sorry. I just want to own it.
Wait, Fred, that means you know exactly who did it.
Yes, I do.
Did they apologize?
No.
Was it a woman?
No.
Were you surprised? Were you like, oh,
Yeah,
really?
I was, and I was like, I just don't want to say anything, you know. I'm just like, you know. Well, speaking of that, there was something that was really funny. That was for real, and I think it was on. Oh gosh, Pig Goat Banana Cricket. I think was the show. I worked on Nickelodeon, and John DiMaggio and I did the longest. Okay, we did a combo record where my character was sort of a Paul Frees type of voice coming in, and he could fart out the table of the elements. And so I'd be like, and then John would just go, argon, yes, argon. No, not helium. And we have a recording of that. And we couldn't get through the recording. It was just so juvenile and stupid. And, but that was really embarrassing and funny for me anyway. I'm sorry to offend anybody.
Please don't die.
Carbon. There we are, carbon. Very good carbon. Yes, yeah. I couldn't get through it.
Oh my god. I passed out in the booth screaming, which happens actually frequently, but it was my first time out doing a really long, loud scream, and it was for the movie Vexiel, and this character, it was CG animation, so the guy's face was really specific, and there was no cheating it. And he was really loud. I mean, veins popping on his forehead, his mouth just at the camera. It's really, really crazy. And I had never done it before. It was like a 9-second scream. 9 seconds. 9 seconds, full-throated, loud scream. It can't crescendo. It's one, huge rah the whole time.
Yeah.
That's all. And I couldn't do it. It took like 5 or 6 takes. And Mike McFarlane was directing me, and he was like, "Oh, you got we only made it to 5 seconds." I'm like, damn it! I don't have water. And screaming is really hard on your voice, obviously. So I was like, "All right, man, we got to do this because you're gonna ruin your voice." And thankfully, this was like his death scream. So I was like, "All right, well, I have nothing after this, but we've had to get it." And after take, Mike finally stood there. And was like, "Let me show you." And he kind of did this thing where he like, he used his eyes and he took a really deep breath, and he was like, "Ah!" And I was like, "Oh, well, he did it. Now I have to." And I went in there and I totally did it, and I got to 9.5 seconds and I passed out. Like I was just like, "Ah!" And I just remember seeing the character's face and everything just went, and then I was on the floor and I totally fell. Like I was wedged between like the door and the little stool that they had in the corner. And Mike he's like trying to get in the door. You okay? And I'm like, yeah. What happened? He's like, you passed out. I'm like, did we get the scream? We got the scream. Welcome to the club called Anyone That's Ever Worked on Dragon Ball. Everybody.
I had an experience recently with a show called Recovery of an MMO Junkie. And for those who have seen the show, I play a character named Himeralda. And Himeralda is a male character that is the avatar of a female in real life, which is very interesting. We're just talking about like things that you can voice that you couldn't do behind a camera, and so that's a really interesting experience. But in the game, that female character is married to this guy who plays a different character in the same guild, and he gets on her account at one point, and so the director, Cliff Chapin, had me record a reference track for my character to speak with, but it wouldn't be my voice. It would be the guy who played her husband's avatar would say the words coming out of my character's mouth with the same inflection that I would use because the character was really flamboyant. But the guy who plays that character, his name is Ben Phillips, and he has a deep, resonant voice. So when I heard the final recording, it was this guy who has a naturally deep, resonant voice, like pushing it way up and being very artificially flamboyant, and it worked really well. It was such an interesting choice, and I thought that was really cool. I really respected that. So that was fun.
Thank you.
And thank you for your question.
Yeah, passing out. I had to do it passed out. Yeah, and you just get so lightheaded after those yells.
It's funny. It's funny. Of all the things that make me lightheaded down the booth, it's running in place.
Yes.
When you have to be like, you're like, this is somehow more exhausting than actually running.
Hi.
I have a question for all of you. What do you like to do on Christmas?
What do we like to do on Christmas?
Open presents.
I love to read A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. It's one of my favorites in the world. I read it every year. And it's just become a tradition. I'm kind of obsessed with it, so I've like seen every film version of it. I've seen every audiobook version of it. I love it. And it just gets better every. That's my thing.
I like having people over and cooking. Just cooking with people. It's a very holiday
Me
thing.
too. I like the family thing. It's really good. Family, friends, and just catching up with people that you haven't spoken to in a while. I mean, even if you don't get to see them, just to write something, and just reconnect. That's what I really like. And just again with the gratitude and thank God for everything.
Thank you.
My question is for all of you. In terms of the roles that you've played over the years, out of all the universes that you've voiced in, which one specifically would you say you'd want to put yourselves into?
Not Attack on Titan.
So many you want to stay away from, right?
Yeah, right. Not Attack on Titan.
Asgard would be fun, just because it's so crazy. But it would be a fun world. I like a world of the thing that we're in. Like the world. Okay.
I got one. Black Clover is going on right now, and I voice someone in that, and that would be an interesting world to be in, I think.
Yeah. I like the world of Black Butler. I mean, it's that sort of Victorian era England I really like. That would have been fun. But I'm sure the reality of it would have been kind of horrible. Like, where's the bathroom? Oh, there isn't one. What? Or like, no AC? What are you talking about? I'm pretty sure like the reality of that one would make me miserable because I'm a bit of a hothouse flower. Like, what do you mean? I don't like it. I really, honestly though, Spice and Wolf was one of my favorite shows that we're going to work on. I love that world. I mean, it's the real world. It's historic Germany, Europe, whatever. I love that era. It's really cool, and specifically my character's life in that show, because in that universe he was the traveling peddler. So he, of all the people that you would see, probably knew more of the world than most people, because back in those days people didn't, they grew up and died in their villages, and they didn't usually travel very far because the risk was too great. So someone that traveled for a living, just had this cool perspective of things that most people never got the chance to build, and I love that. That's one of my favorite little worlds.
Not Call of Duty.
No, we don't want. Yeah.
I mean, even Overwatch, you die, and so I wouldn't be able to say Overwatch either, because that would be, it's a violent world. I wasn't in this, but I was up very close. I got pinned, which means that it's almost you, and they're about to cast you, but then they might go with somebody else. And I was up for a recurring role on Man in the High Castle. And it's about, basically if the world were flipped around and if World War II didn't end the way it did, and the Americans were the ones who ended up, it's a flipped world, and I think, not to, kind of be super serious, but it's a world where like the minorities are actually the majority, and it goes the other way around. And so I thought that was one of my dream roles. I really was hoping that I would get it, because I feel like especially Asian Americans in general are always playing like have traditionally played more support characters, and so in the world of whatever it is, whatever medium. So it was sort of a dystopic world that would just be in a flipped universe. So yeah, I'm hoping an opportunity like that will come back around again.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Like, or some cartoon surreal world, like Little Big Awesome, or like Breadwinner, or some bizarre place to just visit, or remember what Adventure Time? Remember the old Robin Williams movie, What Dreams May Come? You know, some kind of like really great spiritual place where you can see everybody and you can change shapes and I don't know, something that would be really cool.
Thank you.
I know, we make that giraffe goldfish, right?
I was just wondering, before you guys were voice actors, what was your craziest job experience, like in retail or like food service?
Oh, crazy job.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Oh, yeah. Oh, there's some.
I got one. So back to the translating and interpreting thing. I would translate for a variety of people, but one of them was a CEO of this company, this tech company that wanted to fly to San Francisco and have this really great, like startup-y, really cool, like we're gonna have a bunch of tech journalists there, it'll be great. He fancied himself the Steve Jobs of Japan. He was not the Steve Jobs of Japan. I was there to interpret his whole spiel, his whole thing, right? So we're there on Market Street in San Francisco, and we're starting this presentation. He's got a PowerPoint, and I get up there. I know what he's going to talk about, and suddenly he starts speaking in English. He's not speaking in Japanese, but he's speaking in English. Terrible, terrible English. It's absolutely unintelligible. And I'm thinking, okay, all right, well, we'll see what happens. And he pulls up a picture of Steve Jobs, and he says, "In the world of the great skinhead," and I'm like, whoa, 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 ladies and gentlemen, hold on. See, he was like, "In the words of the great skinhead." I'm like, no. I'm like, I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, we're having a small technical issue. Could you just bear with me for a second? And all the tech journalists are just taking notes, looking very confused. And I turn to this CEO and I speak to him in Japanese. And I say, "Whoa, could you just tell me what you just said in Japanese?" He's like, blah, 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 blah. But he used a Japanese word, skinhead, though. He used that word. And I was like, okay, this is, all right, what does that word mean? I know, like, what does it mean? He was like, oh, it's a cool slang term for a bald guy. No, I do not have time to explain, like, the history of that word in America right now. So we're just, who are you? Are you referring to? He's like, Steve Jobs. I mean, it's obvious that I'm talking about Steve Jobs. I'm like, no, Steve Jobs is not a skinhead. Oh, God. Let me do my job. So I had to, like, get back up there and explain, like, this is what happened. He did not use that word in this context. I'm gonna interpret now. Thank you.
That's funny.
That was interesting.
I was a janitor for all of a month. I was in my teens, and I was a janitor at a haunted movie theater. And it was one of those things where, like, yeah, they like the other staff would be like, yeah. They'd tell you a story that you were sure was BS. They'd be like, yeah, there was a guy that like fell to his death on the scaffolding when they were building Theater 13. And you can go and like see like his ghost is still in there. And I'm like, that's not a real story. And my dad, who worked with a lot of contractors in the area, was like, oh, actually that happened. If you go back behind the screen, there's like a plaque. Like his family put there, and I'm like, oh my God, it's real. And so I went there for about a month, and weird stuff happened. I was like, our job was, we were a team that came in to clean it. Like after the movie theater closed, we'd come in at night and like be there until 6 in the morning cleaning. So it was just like 6 or 7 of us cleaning in this huge like multiplex theater, and we'd each give individual theaters, and we'd all draw lots to be like, who wants Theater 13? Stuff happened, it was crazy.
I would look on Craigslist to try to like find really high-paying jobs with very little effort, on my part. So I would find like $100 jobs where I'd go to like UCLA or something, get my brain scanned. So I've gotten that done before. I've also been like a sports drink like taster. It takes like 30 minutes, and they gave me $100 for that. I've also been like a car design like opinion person. What are these things called? Like where you go and like give your opinion?
Market research panel?
Yeah, focus group. Yeah, but I wouldn't be like in an actual group or any. I mean, I wouldn't like sign up for it, but I would just look for individual ones. So I've gotten them. Yeah. So but I was late to the car tester one, so they just handed me the $100 cash, and it's like, we don't need any more people. So I would say those are some weird jobs. Oh, but I found out that I have a very healthy brain. So that was good. I've always wanted to know, am I crazy? They're like, no, it's shaped really nicely. It's like, oh, thanks.
Your brain is very brain shaped.
I worked in Kenya restaurants, I delivered wine, I did with a van. I can't believe they trusted me with a van. I worked a night job in an art department, cleaning up and scanning images for animation and stuff, and I would work at night because I was trying to get auditions during the day. I remember I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm done. It's really early in the morning, or like it's about 2, 3 a.m. I'm just going to take a nap. And so I slept. There was this table. There's not many places. There's no place to lie down. I said, let me just lie down for a minute. I lie down. I don't know what prompted me to do this, but I'm going to lie down on this table just to wake up. Well, I wake up at like 9 o'clock. There's all these Japanese businessmen coming in while I'm lying down on this table, and I'm like, oh, hello, I'm like 20 something, and my boss was like, no, that's just our friend. He works hard. It's okay. And it was like got street cred for that.
Yeah, but I made a very good impression on the Japanese. Yeah.
But it was just like so scary to wake up and go, what's going on? And this is kind of a voice acting job, but I had to cosplay. I had to be Tony the Tiger in a suit. So I had and I'm in this suit talking like Tony the Tiger. This was all, gosh, this was some studio was trying to promote some anime thing with Tony the Tiger. Hello everyone, that was kind of fun. It's a great costume. I mean, it really was like a huge, it's very hot. By the way, you guys who wear costumes are those people who play the characters, the cast. Oh my gosh. It's mad respect, because that's really hot in there. Plus I had to speak, so I was trying to, it was really, but it was fun. It was
oh my God.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, just over this, our last question, then we'll get them out of here so they can get
Last question.
Yes, that's
Make it a good one.
Oh wow, no
the
pressure.
pressure's on you.
The answer is 43.
All right. What I was wondering is when you have a role that you're trying to develop a voice for, how much of that development process is you actively trying to make the voice sound a certain way versus just talking and letting the voice develop as it does?
That's a dang good question.
That's a really good question.
It really is. It is.
I myself am a big believer in not trying to make a voice. I just kind of read the text and see the animation and kind of see where it takes me personally. Because and this may sound strange, but I've come to believe that there's no such thing as character. When you're playing a role, it's just you. It's you in a certain context. I mean, when I'm playing this person or this person, it's the qualities we're seeing that make it a good drama are the qualities that come out because that character is under a certain pressure in a certain context, and we would all be that way in that situation. So acting, not to get all acting is, but I mean, acting is really just learning how to make it real for you, and then the voice comes out in weird ways. And if there's other things about the voice, like the director may hear something like, hey, could you give it a little more age? Could you gravel it up? Could you make it lighter? Then you make adjustments, but you find the truth of it first. Most of the time, any like trick voices, they're called trick voices, that we do are already within our wheelhouse, so it's not like we develop them, they're just voices we can already do and that we're comfortable enough with that we can do them authentically without having to